Good afternoon. So anyway, I'm going to show you my human trafficking case, right? So it's filed in Palmer, Alaska, right? It's still open today because we just had a hearing on June 5th, 2025 over stop stealing the trust fund money and creditors affidavit. But I don't know when they filed this divorce case on 10/6/2015, right? I don't know that I am entering a human trafficking case, right? I don't know that. And there's lots of things I don't know. I don't know about a stolen trust fund. I don't know. They're dragging me in to steal my entire estate, my 2 cars, my hot tub, my son, everything, right? They're going to take everything from me, right? I have no idea. They ask in my son's guardianship case, I get life insurance. So what do you think they're going to do with me, right? Okay, so we're going to set this case off to the side. This is where it starts on 10/6/2015 in Palmer, Alaska, right? And it's a 9-year divorce case, still open today, although the top of the court docket says it's closed. It's not closed. They never serve me divorce papers, and they never file the required documents to file a divorce complaint. So see all these documents? They were sent a civil deficiency memo to submit to the court. They never do. This is so they can embezzle businesses. They're going to hide tax returns so we don't get the proper amount of child support. They're going to do everything in here, right? Okay. So what happened? Where did it all start? Well, my mother was dying and I was estranged from the family, right? So she died in Arizona, right? She died in Arizona on June 23rd, 2015. Her name, Delphine Isabel L.G. Gage, right? And so the first clue, something strange is going on, is they put my name wrong in the obituary. Your obituary is proof you contacted all family members. Well, they didn't contact me, right? So then it says she is survived by her husband, Jay Gage, son, John L.G., Angela, the son, George L.G., Myrna, daughter Kim Alfonsi. That's never been my name for 1 day, 1 second, ever. Okay, and Kevin, that's him. Sister Sharon White, 5 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Okay, so anyway, a memorial service will be held at 10 a.m. Thursday, July 2nd, 2015, at Green Valley Mortuary, right? And they're there, okay? And that was the funeral home, right? Okay. So they show up at probate court with falsified identification for me. My attorney tells me, hey, do you want me to look into your mother's probate case for you? And I say, I guess, and he says he doesn't. He doesn't find anything. He'd at least show me the documents of finding nothing, but he didn't, right? But he did. He found something. He was colluding with my husband, right? I don't know, before my husband filed for divorce, that he's hidden his residency in California. We're still married, not the best relationship. I have no idea. In 2013, he's establishing residency in California before he files for divorce in Alaska. And he has this business in California, Advanced Builders of California. And in 2019, it's saying he's been a resident of California for 6 years and 1 month. Well, that puts him back to 2013. So why is he filing for divorce in Alaska on 10/6/2015, right? And he's using his non-legal name. So he's filing outside of his California jurisdiction, all right? He's not filing as a foreign entity of an LLC either, right? And at this date, in 2019, he keeps telling the court in Alaska, I'm not doing visitation. And he's hiding where he's living and going to all the time. Of course, I'm not doing visitation because you're out of state and you're not asking to see your son. But everybody in court's rigged this. for his benefit because he's holding my trust fund. Okay, the name that he hides all the way through court is that name right there. So he's not filed suit in Alaska in his legal name, right? He's hiding that name. He tells me right before he files for divorce, hey, yeah, I changed my name. I took LG off of it. No, that's the name he'll put on my stolen trust fund. So he's using this name before he filed for divorce and after he filed for divorce because he doesn't want a real legal divorce. Yeah, he wants a stolen trust fund in my entire estate, right? And to kill me. They didn't ask I get life insurance in this case for nothing. Not in this case, in my son's guardianship case, right? The whole time I'm taking care of a special needs child who ends up growing up as an adult inside this case. Because the case starts off in 2015. My son's 13, and now he's 22. We're still in that case because they're still in a trust fund in the entire state from me. Right? So the court knows what his name is. Court's billing it there, right there. The court not notice what he's not using his legal name? Yeah, they know all about it. Court knows very well what his legal name is. They know what this case is too. That's why they let him not submit all the required documents for a divorce complaint. And he even gets a promissory note at Matt Valley Federal Credit Union, right? And what does Matt Valley Federal Credit Union make him do? They make him use his legal name. The courthouse doesn't. But Matt Valley Federal Credit Union makes him, use his legal name on this promissory note. Yeah, before he files for divorce. He files on 10/6/2015. The promissory note's on 4/22/2015. They had this all planned out around my mother's death, right? So, and what do they make him do? They make him sign as Kevin Alfonsi LG. Yeah, they make him do that. They're going to make him use the courthouse. Civil Rule Pro 10, plaintiff must file suit in his full legal name as he knows it. What do they immediately start doing? They show up at my mother's probate case, and they do get my trust fund, right? That's what they do. And so I get guided to this document. All the documents you're seeing, I get guided to, or friends send them to me that don't know they're being guided. December 22nd, 2015, my attorney is writing me, and I just saw this email because I get 7 from the bookkeeper in this total divorce, right? 7 emails from this particular bookkeeper in this total divorce. She must handle trusts. Anyway, and she says, Kim, I have you on my calendar for a trust payment of $500 due on the 15th day of this month of the month, right? And she writes it on December 22nd, 2015. So apparently on January 16th, they're going to make their first trust payment, and then they're going to start doing automatic payments, right? Yeah, that's what they're going to do. Okay. I don't even know I have a trust fund. I don't know it's been acquired. I don't know my attorney for my divorce case is my trustee. How convenient it is. So there we go. So that happens. Okay. And I don't know this document even exists. I've never gotten it or anything. So they issue me a divorce decree, but we know what? It's not in his legal name, right? And I don't know it for until 2019. On 7/5/2019, I go to Vital Records and they tell me, your husband, that's not his legal name. His name's Kevin Alfonsi LG. We can't give you a certificate of divorce. He didn't file suit in his legal name. You're going to have to go back to the court and you're going to have to motion for a decree to be issued in that name to get a certificate of divorce. And then she goes, we do have records, certified records of no divorce found. And I can print you out 2 of them in each name. Kevin Alfonsi, no record found up for divorce. They never sent even this decree in. They didn't send it in, right? And so then she goes, and we can print you out no record found for Kevin Alfonsi LG. We'll do 2 certified no record founds for you. I said, okay, and I got him, right? So I go to court and I motion for a decree to be issued in his legal name at the time of divorce. The court denies me. Well, I don't know why. I'm in a planned, orchestrated, trafficking case. And I'm a psychic intuitive. Oh, what fun we're going to have. So then all of a sudden, they do finding of fact, conclusion of law. And they actually amend it later. So this isn't even the amended one. But that's what they do. They send it to me. And shortly after that, they change it just a little bit. Okay. So anyway, she sends a finding of fact to conclusion of law to me. And the judge signs it. Got to remember, they submitted no tax returns. They're hiding assets. They're hiding income. They're hiding everything. And I don't know it, you know, because I have an attorney who's my trustee at the time, and I have no idea about that. So this is just a fake-ass case, right? It's just all there is to it. So they amended this a little bit later on and then gave me credits, I guess, for the crap on the businesses that were never talked about in court. So Judge Heath signs this, right? On the 31st day of August, right? This asset sheet is bullcrap. There's that California business with all the construction equipment. He's like, we sold it. You don't remember. You know, the old gaslighting crap the narc does. Yeah. He saw my abilities. They just weren't in full effect until I became my own, on my own, in my own person. Yeah, I was no longer attached to that freak. So now my abilities are going to come out. That's one reason, you know, like Samson and Delilah, well, stay away. You know, it's like, married? You want to get married? I don't really feel that's like beneficial to me. No, I'll lose my magical powers if I get married. You can't force me to marry anybody, so don't get that in your ID ahead. So anyway, memorandum, opinion, and judgment. Now, Kevin has filed an appeal. Judge Heath comes out with his orders, you know, and his finding of fact to conclusion of law. And, you know, there's a Supreme Court case, right? Yeah. And it has the opinion on 7-5. Kevin files his appeals case on October 2nd, 2017. That's what happens. So we'll go down to it. October 2nd, 2017. Or no, was it October 2nd? Child support. Yeah. 10/2/2017. He files an appeal after the judge will not record judgment against me. See, notice of filing proposed judgment the first time. The judge is refusing. Even though he signed that order, he's like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not recording judgment against her. She doesn't have to do an equalization. She doesn't have to make an equalization payment. So Kevin files on 10/2/2017, appeal filed in the Supreme Court, right? Okay, and then that's what you're seeing right over here. So the Supreme Court comes back with their decision on 10/12/5/2018. Judge Heath never filed judgment against me, so I went to the Supreme Court without judgment filed against me and came back from the Supreme Court without judgment filed against me. Even though he said in order he would, he's like, nah, I'm not doing it. Could it be because plaintiff didn't file suit in his legal name? They didn't want a judgment on here anyway. They didn't want a legal divorce. Because this is a human trafficking case. This isn't a divorce case. No. So, now Judge Heath, because they're all PO'd at him because he will not record judgment against me. So now we're going to go down in the court docket to the 6/15/2018 omnibus order. Go to imagine the case is still in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court clerk can see who validates judgments. No judgment was entered against me before it went to the Supreme Court or after, right? So it wasn't done. Got to be careful of the family scapegoat, because you got a parent that's just rumor mill about them. They don't even know. Like I said, there were so many rumors about me that I didn't even know about them. You know, you know, just awful rumors. And the only reason I found out my mom was doing that was because my mother-in-law called me and said, your mom called me and told me the most horrible things about you. And I told her she'd better stop calling me. So anyway, on 6/15/2018, omnibus order is made, and post-judgment. So anyway, notice of filing, proposed judgment, right? This is what the omnibus order is going to be about, right? Because Judge Heath has refused to record judgment against me. And Ken Goldman sends that same day, he says, hey, you know, call to discuss. I did, he wasn't there. And so anyway, Judge Heath refuses to record judgment against me. And he says in this order, he's going to on 1/1/2019. But you got to imagine, they're motioning for it clear back in 2017. He refuses to do it, right? So he does the omnibus order. And he brings up Rule 58 because they keep telling him, hey, you're supposed to enter judgment against her immediately under Rule 58, 54B. And he still won't do it. He won't record judgment against me. He refuses to do it, right? I guess if you want to do your fraud, you go do your fraud. I'm not going to help you traffic this person, I guess. The notice of filing proposed judgment and cross motion for attorney fees are denied. And then he goes into why he won't do it. And, but he says he's going to eventually, right? He says, I'm gonna record judgment. I think this was to stall, and, you know, who knows? This could be a template of corruption. I have no idea. Because, you know, because I don't think like that. God don't allow me to think like that. It's not part of the gift. I can't think like a crusty-ass criminal, but I can and eventually get your crap downloaded to me. So it is hereby ordered that the motion to modify child support is denied. The notice of filing proposed judgment is denied. Miss LG has until January 1st, 2019 to make the equalization payment less the amount of child support arrears owed by Mr. Alfonsi as of the date of the equalization payment. Miss LG shall provide the court with a copy of her payment as well as the child support owed when the equalization payment is made. If Miss LG fails to make the equalization payment by January 1st, 2019, a judgment shall issue, right? So we know that happened. The cross motion for attorney fees is denied. The cross motion for release of Liz pendings and awards of attorney fees and cost is granted in part. He says to them, you get your crusty ass liens off her property, and if you don't, I'm going to pay her money to take your ass back to court. You know, and the motion for judgment attorney fees for unreturned personal property is denied. He liked to steal things off the property and then take me back to court and say I stole them. So, and of course, he's doing a human trafficking case. No how, you know, I mean, they're just gonna, you know, tear me up in court, right? Dated and entered at Palmer, Alaska on this 15th day of June, 2018. And that's the certificate of distribution. This is the only one you'll ever be able to read. All the others that come after this, you can't read. So he does this order, right? He does it. Is it shown in the court docket? Right there. Okay, so we got that. So what happens on 1/1/2019? It comes, and once more, Judge Heath will not record judgment against me. He won't do it. So it's a judgment denied stay because of how he wrote out the order. The notice of filing proposed judgment is denied. So he made judgment, it's denied, and he made it a stay on 1/1/2019. That's why Permanent Fund Division would never garnish my PFD, because they saw this judgment, and they also saw it was the only certificate of distribution you could read on a judgment, right? Well, this doesn't happen. This does not fit well if you're stealing a trust fund. So they got to relitigate judgment, right? They got to. In order to get at that trust fund, they're going to have to relitigate judgment against me. So we talked about the certificate of distribution, right? And it says judgments. All judgments must be reduced to writing. Let's see if we can make this one bigger. Must be reduced to writing. The date of notice of judgment is the date shown as the clerk's certificate of distribution on the written judgment. So we can see Judge Heath, right? That's clear as day. That's clear. You can see that one. Now, the ones that follow that, you're not going to be able to read, right? So we know on 1/1/2019, he didn't record judgment against me. It was a judgment denied stay, okay? I don't know that at this time. Me and my attorney aren't talking after that Supreme Court case comes back. I am pissed at him because in the Supreme Court, they're talking about things they never talked about in the Superior Court. And I'm questioning my attorneys. And then I find out, too, that my ex didn't file suit in his legal name. And why the hell would my attorney allow that, right? In fact, I called the office and they're like, "You're the one that told us what his name was." It's like, you'll see. By the time we're done. Yeah, you'll see that. Yeah, it's not. So you got nasty ass people thinking it's funnier than hell that they're committing a crime against you and that they've got the power in court to do it, right? They're abusing the color of law. They're abusing the law, and they're doing tyranny, flat out tyranny against you in court with officers, court officers, and they think it's funny. They think it's so funny, right? So then they've got to have a judgment against me to get at that trust fund, to start billing it, to make me disappear, right? So then in January 11th, 2021, Kevin's attorney motions to open the case to enforce orders on late December 2020. And so the judge just says, okay, the new judge, Judge Heath's gone. The case is closed. It's done. It's gone through the Supreme Court. He made his final orders. 1/1/2019, judgment denied stay. There is. The case closed. Closed. There is no judgment against Miss Elgie. It's gone through the Supreme Court. Why the hell are they opening the case? You know, you could do that for child's custody, right? You could do it for something like that. They're not going to say that. So there we go. Okay, so on January 11th, 2021, they're reopening the case. Order on motion to open case, right? And they're sending it to attorney recipient of this distribution, Samantha Fleming, right? They got to get that trust fund. We know Ken Goldman's already had the trust fund. Well, these attorneys got to go get that trust fund and get it transferred to them. Everybody's going to pass around Kim's trust fund she's never seen to this day. And they're going to have a hell of a time with it, right? They're going to build the hell out of it. They're going to do everything, right? So anyway, the judge goes and he says that he is going to open the case. Let's go read why he opened it. Order denying defendant's motion in part. The court, having reviewed the plaintiff's partial opposition to motion to open the case, opposition to motion to quash the case with prejudice, quit harassing me and my child. Quit. And any reply there too, hereby orders that Kim Elgie's motion is denied in part. It is further ordered that this case shall be reopened to address enforcement of prior orders, court orders. It doesn't say relitigate judgment, as well as child support. So if you read this and you saw this case shall be open to address enforcement of prior court orders, as well as child support, you'd think this was all about child support. If you were just reading this motion in part to open it, why are we opening it? Well, it's to enforce child support orders. It looks like by what's written, to address enforcement of prior orders, as well as child support. January 11th, 2021, and it's got the new judge name, right? And then she has her certificate of service dated for the attorney firm there, right? Because they Amanda Lancaster wrote this up for the judge to sign. Or not Amanda, this was Samantha Fleming, right? And They're at Quackenbush, right? Yeah. Okay. But once more, there's a certificate of distribution by the court. Can you read that? No, you can't, and you're not meant to. So you're not meant to read that certificate of distribution. Let's make this smaller again. Yeah, there's something there. We don't know quite what it is. Yeah, it's a court certificate of distribution sent by the court clerk. You're not supposed to read any of those that came after Judge Heath's judgment denied stay. His 6/15/2018 order. You're not supposed to read any court clerk certificates of distribution after that date, except for on the 302 pension. So then they go and they amend this judgment. Okay, now we got to go back though. Okay, so they're going to open the case, and this one is done August 8th. Okay, Miss LG shall file with the court within 15 days a statement with the supporting documents of the monthly expenses once maintenance of William once served on Mr. Alfonsi. He may file a reply. So then they do that. Okay, August 8th, 2021. Anyway, and then he says to, I'm like, no, I shouldn't be getting a judgment, and he says on August 17th, 2021, Miss LG filed a pleading seeking relief from judgment and reconsideration of this court order holding judgment in abeyance. Pursuant to Rule 77, the portion of the motion seeking a reconsideration is denied. As for the remaining relief sought, the court finds that this has been previously litigated and is outside the time for a Rule 60 motion. As the relief she seeks is from Judge Heath's finding of fact to conclusion of law, which issued in 2017 and which were appealed to the Supreme Court, who remanded to this court for further finding, which issued after a hearing in October 2019. Therefore, the remaining relief sought is in motion by Miss LG is denied. So what is he not saying? What is he not saying in there? He is not acknowledging what? That Judge Heath did more than the finding of fact to conclusion of law. He came back and he did his final orders on that 6/15 omnibus order. He is not recognizing the judge did a judgment denied stay against Kim LG. If you read what the judge wrote, the new judge, he's going back to clear back here. He's going clear back to the very beginning of the case, right? That's where he's going back to, right? Yeah. To the finding of fact to conclusion of law. He's not saying a word, one word about Judge Heath and his final orders for the divorce. He's not saying, and he judged it a denied equalization payment against Kim LG. He's not saying that. He's not even making one reference to it, right? He's not doing that. He's not saying it in here. He's not saying it anywhere. He's not saying it, period. He's not saying it here. He's just referencing Judge Heath's orders on 8/31/2017. That's it, okay? Now, he's going to give me judgment. But look at the court certificate of distribution, okay? So we know he's giving me judgment, and I asked him, please don't give me judgment. This man's stolen everything from me. He's abusing me, saying I'm not doing visitation when he's gone all the time. Well, what the hell's going on? And you're back in Salem. They've decided you're a witch. Now you get to give him a show, Kim. Good thing you chose to be a good one, an earth angel. So anyway, that's what happens. So we'll go to the date of 8/5/2021. Oh my goodness. And they just drag me through false litigation forever. Just ongoing harassment, terrorism. It's just it is terrorism. It's just absolutely terror, you know. And you can't have a normal life, and they don't want you to, and they want to hurt you, you know, as much as they can. So he gives me judgment. But what doesn't he ever do? Well, we know there's no court clerk certificate of distribution that you can read. And the only one you could read was from Judge Heath's judgment denied stay, right? And under Rule 58 and 54B, this is not how you record a judgment. First of all, it doesn't say who the judgment's to, how much the judgment's for. This could be a judgment for Kevin. This could be a judgment for Kim. We don't know. And it was never, and that was done on purpose. That was intentional. That recording was done intentional. Just like this certificate of distribution was done intentional. You couldn't read it. You can't read one word there. You try and read one word there. Now, the date's clearly marked. The attorney's clearly marked. My name's there. Can you read anything else in that court clerk's certificate of distribution? No, you cannot. So the only one you can read as intended was here. You clearly read that. Clearly, right? So we know that. So we know he's going to give me a judgment, but he won't legally record it in the court docket under Civil Rule 58 and 54B. He will not do that format because they know it's already been judged. They know I shouldn't be dragged back to court. They know it. So what are they doing to me? They're bullying me. They're harassing me with their court-appointed positions. That's what they're doing. Okay, then they go and they amend the judgment, right? And they get a protective order for Kevin. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do. Yeah, because I'm saying bad things about him. I'm telling the truth, right? And they'll drag me into court every time I start speaking the truth. Hey, I went to Vital Statistics. They say I'm not legally divorced. We're doing an investigation on you. Do you know how many investigations I've had done on me? Lots of them. And they keep digging and digging and digging. They can't find anything. We got to be something on there, Earth Angel. Something. No, I'm an Earth Angel, and that's why you can't find a bunch of crap on me. He doesn't give you these gifts if you're out doing, horrible things. So anyway, they amend it to add more money to it. Got to get at that trust fund. Got to get it. Got to have a reason. Got it to relitigate judgments. Got to get at it. Okay? So they got false judgments against me. Now, are they going to, what is the amended one? Is it formatted correctly in the court docket? Let's go down and look. What date is this one? 12/6/2021. Amended judgment. They won't put it correct. For who? And I motion for a payment plan, I mean, I don't know at this time what they've done. I won't get downloaded till later. You know why? God likes to let the free will take place. He's all about free will. Oh, yeah. He's all about free will. Yeah, he is. So, my perfect little angel? Oh, no. No, that's why he sent me. I'm not a perfect little angel. So, all of a sudden, now, his attorney, well, she starts serving writs right away. You're supposed to what? You're supposed to motion for judgment. Judgment's supposed to be entered correctly with the fees, the amount owed, who the judgment's for, and the whole thing. They won't do that, right? But they'll start serving writs, right? But they don't really actually serve them. I don't even know I have any for a long time, right? And PFD will never garnish my permanent fund dividend because they could see I was already judged by Judge Heath. So they start serving writs. Well, they got two, writ of execution right there. This is the trust fund writ. It took 2 attorneys to do it too, right? So anyway, they got a writ of execution on there. And they send it to PFD, but PFD will never garnish my PFD. Because what does PFD have to be very careful about? Judgments and writs, and probably in this court system, they really do. So PFD is going to the courthouse and they're looking up judgments. What do they find? Judge Heath's original judgment, going over the equalization judgment. What do they know? First one counts, second and third don't. So they're verifying judgments. At least they do. So they're like, yeah, nah, we can't garnish it. It's already been judged. They don't tell me that. They just don't ever garnish my PFD. Okay, so then we're skipping way ahead now. I've got judgments entered against me, right? But now they want to take me. They got my trust fund. They want to take me. They want my house. They want my 2 cars, because they're doing an entire identity swap for this $35,000 judgment, right? So that's what they're doing. So they're going to take my trust fund. They stole it already. They're stealing my house. They're stealing my 2 cars. They're stealing my hot tub. They're stealing my 2 cabin rentals. And they're stealing my son, right? So they falsified probate documents. They had a second probate case in 2021. So Ken Goldman, my attorney, could hand off the trust fund to Amanda Lancaster and Samantha Fleming. So they had to do a second probate action, deem me mentally incompetent, right? Hand the trust fund over. Now my husband has full control over it. We're not legally divorced. No legal divorce papers were done. So now he's got full control of the trust, and Turnagain Law becomes the trustee. So it's handed off from Goldman to Turnagain Law, my husband's attorney, 4th attorney for the fake divorce case. Well, his attorney starts serving me writs this last year, and it was actually 2024. And she does that. Please see attached document meant to enforce existing. We'll look down here. Okay, she sends it on 12/6/2024. Please, Miss LG, please see attached document meant to enforce the existing judgment. Okay, so this is where my trust fund's at. I have no idea it even exists. I don't know, and yeah, and they did she sent me a copy of this. This is her sending me the documents. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, so she sent me a copy of this. She's sending me a copy of this. And if you notice on here, they'll never show Kevin's address, because he's in California. She sent me a copy of that. Look at the address. She uses the attorney firm address for Kevin. Yeah, because they've hid his Dixon, California address all the way through court, and his legal name, right? Yeah. And she says, it's kind of amazing for a $35,000 judge. Remember, they'll never serve me writs by certified restricted mail or registered process server. They can't. They have me living in California. They can't do it. And for their $35,000 exemption or judgment, she says, we're taking your description of property they're taking, the 2 rental cabins, my business, vehicles, the Buick LeSabre, the Ford Escape, the hot tub, and track G2 at 2150 South Endeavor Street, right? So my home, this is my house. So for the $35,000 judgment, that's what they're going to do. And so she says for the 2 cabin rentals, not primary residence and outside the exemption. This is all the property. Those cabins, they're on this property. And she says 1 vehicle is an exemption, but she will not. She's planning on taking both of them. No exemption for this property, no exception. Why? Why wouldn't your primary resident have exemption? Because they got me living at 5420 Dixon West, Dixon, California with Kevin. They've stolen my identity to steal my trust fund. Now they got guardianship and conservatorship papers. She just needs a crusty-ass judge to sign it all over. That's what she needs, right? So that's why. There would be, of course, exemptions on my property, but I don't know it at this time. They've got a fake guardianship case for me with probate documents, with deeming me mentally incompetent. Meanwhile, as many of you know, I'm guardian of my son. So, yeah. So I'm guardian of my son, and yeah. And they've got guardianship over me. That was the only way Kevin could get a hold of my trust fund, was to have guardianship of me, right? Guardianship and conservatorship, and have the trust make payments. So she sends this to me, right? And I say, my friend Dave comes on and he goes, hey, she's not serving you writs legally. She's serving them by email. That's against the law. So I start bringing it up to her and to the court, but they all know about it. It's like reporting the theft to the, hey, criminals, they're stealing from me. Oh, yeah, we know that. We know that. Yeah, we know it. We know they're stealing from you. So somebody said, I'm really worried for your life. And I said, well, yeah, well, they're already proven they want to take it anyway, so I might as well just tell the story about what happened, right? So anyway, it ends up to, I thought I had that. Apparently, I didn't look at that document. Okay, we'll have to go back up. So I say, hey, she's not serving me legal by registered process server, the writs, and then all of a sudden, Turnagain Law, where my trust fund's at, and Kevin's attorney's at, she's like, we can't serve her, to her P.O. box. So what we can do is ask the post office to hand it to her. So the post office goes and they say, oh, 2242, I think, ? We'll send Kim a yellow card. And we'll say, yeah, this law firm sent you some. It's not quite right. They didn't put down your right address. But you can have it, we think it's supposed to go to you. So they didn't return it to him, right? I think this stuff goes on all the time. I think my mail got forwarded. Yeah, I do. Really do. So it has the wrong address. It was received on 1/21/2025. Or first time she tried to send it 12/19/2024. So this is a writ. And I said, supposed to be served a certified restricted mail, not priority, right? So, and she sends it intentionally with the wrong address, but she knows she can get the post office to hand it off to me. And I said to the lady, do I have to sign it? And she said, no, because they didn't even send it to the right address. No, you can just take it, but it still clicks on I received it, right? Doesn't mean crap. I still didn't receive it legally. Okay, they're cleaning house because now they've got my trust fund. They've got false judgments entered. Now they got to do something, though, before they totally clean it up, kidnap me from the home. They've got to steal the rest of the pension that they gave me already. So they motion for a 302 pension. There was already a pension done in 2017. So, and that can be proven on the court docket, right? So we know on 10/24/2017, a pension was drafted and signed by Judge Heath. But remember, this attorney and the judge just pretend like Judge T. Heath didn't even exist after that 8/31/2017 finding of fact and conclusion of law. So they're not going to acknowledge either that a qualified domestic relations order was done on 10/24/2017. That's just going to, go past them on purpose because they're stealing a trust fund from me and my whole identity and the whole thing. Okay, so right here, qualified domestics relations order, right? 10/24, qualified domestics relations order. But they're not going to acknowledge any documents from Judge Heath after 8/31/2017. They're not going to do it. They're doing an entire estate robbery, including the stealing the trust fund, the pension, the home, the property. Now, so they're not going to acknowledge this was done already. So she says motion for 302 pension. She does this last year because they got to start cleaning house, getting ready for my abduction, right? So anyway, motion for the 302 pension. Come now, Kevin Alfonsi, Kevin, through the counsel at Turnagain Law, LLC, and hereby files motion RE 302 pension and order accompanying this pleading. Kevin is seeking court assistance on the issue regarding his 302 pension. Kevin is actively trying to retire, but finding the facts of conclusion of law address the following provision. Mr. Alfonsi has an IUOE 302 pension trust that is marital but not vested. A QDR order should be awarded Miss LG 50% of the marital portion should the pension vest. So she's saying that in the finding of fact, they address the 302 pension. Mr. Alfonsi has a IUOE 302 pension trust that is marital, that is not vested. Okay. And she is lying right now. And she is not addressing what Judge Heath has already done, a qualified domestic relations order in 2017. Yeah. And signed it. And so anyway, Kevin has attached the breakdown of the marital portion of this account and requests the court deduct the $4,618.74 from the judgment currently issued against Miss Elgie. We know it's not legal. This would resolve the issue and allow the union to process her retirement. No QDR order. See how she's lying? She knows it. They're just not going to acknowledge anything after 8/31/2017 by Judge Heath. No QDR order was drafted, filed, or signed by the court on this issue. The account has vested. Kevin seeks a remedy to help resolve the outstanding judgments. That is accruing interest against Miss Elgie. As such, plaintiff respectfully requests the court address resolution of this issue to allow Kevin to notify the union. So they let Kevin has attached a breakdown. What's wrong with this? You would send it to an actuary, but not if he's going to pay you off with a big ass trust fund. So Kevin has attached a breakdown of the marital portion of his account and requests the court deduct the $4,618.74 from the judgment currently issued. Yeah. Okay, so she asked the court that. This is just last year, this December. They've already served me a writ on December 6th. They're getting ready to abduct us from the home. That's what they're doing. This is kidnapping, using a court of law to kidnap somebody. Okay? So, what does the judge do? Okay, there's her certificate of service, sent from where my trust fund's at, was. Okay, so then, order re 302 pension. It is ordered that having reviewed the motion and request, the plaintiff's request is granted. The $4,618.74 is deducted from the judgment. It is also ordered the 26th day of November 2024 at Palmer, Alaska. Okay, so they do that. Now, they got to take that away, because they don't want a judgment entered on the court docket, and they don't want to show that they've deducted the $4,600, because they don't want a legal judgment on the court docket. They don't want to enter it or anything, right? Because there's no legal divorce. They don't want it. This is just a trafficking Miss Elgie case. But they did do a certificate of distribution for this. You can kind of read. You can't read that part. This is exactly how they come in, you know. But they'll do it for the 302 operating engineer pension. Right, they'll do that because they got to send it into them, right? So then they amend the order 302 pension, right? So now they're going to totally steal it from me. They're not even going to deduct it from the judgment. They're going to say, we're just taking it from the order, and Kim Elgie gets no more pension. We're not letting her have a pension either. Well, now I'm kind of up a crap creek, right? I mean, I'm getting my pension stolen from me. I'm getting my house stolen from me. I'm getting my 2 cars stolen from me. I'm getting my 2 cabin rentals, my cars, and most of all, my son, the most important. So, amended order for 302 pension. It is so ordered, having reviewed the motion and request, the plaintiff's request is granted. The following amount will be deducted from the union's QDRO. Does it say they're going to take it off the judgment again? No, there is no judgment, right? They know that. They're not taking it off of crap. This is all fake. $4,618, and this satisfies all payments to Kim Elgie from the 302 pension account. Voila! It's magical, just like my powers. Oh, so magical. But mine actually come from divine. Where do yours come from? It is so ordered this 31st day of December. Yeah, it looks like December, doesn't it? Happy New Year to me. December 2024. So that's my Happy New Year's present. You just got your entire pension stolen, Kim LG, right? With a fake ass judgment that they're not even going to deduct this from, right? They're not even going to take that amount off because there is no legally recorded judgment. Yep. So that's what happened there. Yep. Then there was her priority mail because they'd never served me writs legally. And just destitute the hell out of me and my kid, right? We never got the correct amount of child support. And then they just bullied us and harassed us all the way through court. In the guardianship case and in the... So what do I file? Right? They came back. We had a hearing on June 5th, 2025. And it was over stop stealing the trust fund money. With a creditor's affidavit, I wasn't supposed to show up to that hearing. I was supposed to be abducted by now, right? And I say to them, I submit this on June 18th, 2025, and they still haven't addressed this, right? And I say, objection to master's report as the divorce case had final judgment in the Supreme Court case S16846 on all divorce issues. Opinion issued on 12/5/2018 in the case Kevin Alfonsi versus Kim LG, and the case should be dismissed without delay. And I said, on 8/31/2017, Judge Heath refused to record the equalization judgment against Kim LG. On 9/27/2017, plaintiff's attorney motions for the equalization judgment against Kim LG be entered, and citing Civil Rule 58, judgment entered shall not be delayed. Judge Heath still refused to record judgment against Kim LG. On 10/2/2017, Kevin Alfonsi filed an appeal in the Supreme Court case on S16848, Kevin Alfonsi versus Kim LG, after Judge Heath refused to record judgment against Kim LG. But this judgment not being entered against me was never a subject Kevin touched on in his May 2nd, 2018 appeals court brief. You know, you'd be saying, hey, you know, the judge still won't do it. Having many months prior to enter it into his brief and make it an issue in his appeals court case, he won't even tell the Supreme Court, Judge, he's not recording judgment against Kim LG. What's wrong here? He knows the judge is not going to. They don't want a legal judgment anyway. On 6/15/2018, an omnibus order was made by Judge Heath after the finding of fact and conclusion of law, and final divorce papers were issued on 8/31/2017, saying he was addressing 5 ripe motions. This was 9 months and 15 days after the finding of fact and conclusion of law and decree were issued on 8/31/2017. Judge Heath still would not record the equalization judgment against Kim LG. There is a 6-month rule on all decisions before a judge, and motions and judgments must be final within 6 months for judges. It had seemed he had made his final decision on judgments exactly as submitted to the Supreme Court, as required by law, as the docket reflects, when sent to them. And then the case was reopened on 5/29/2018, shown on the court docket, and Judge Heath made his final orders for the on motions for the divorce case on 6/15/2018. Judge Heath addressed Rule 58 in his 6/15/2018 omnibus order and why he delayed entry of judgment under Rule 58. In his 6/15 omnibus order, Judge Heath's judgment denied against Kim LG, but he would change that judgment denied stay and record a judgment immediately against Kim LG on 1/1/2019 if she did not make the equalization judgment payment by 1/1/2019. The date of 1/1/2019 came, and Judge Heath once more refused to record the equalization payment against Kim LG as required under Civil Rule 58 and 54B. The entry of judgment must not be delayed. And I said the case was closed for the divorce issues, and the Supreme Court came out with their final decision on 12/5/2018. Supreme Court has to verify judgment is entered before it goes to them. Well, they could only verify that judgment entered with the amount that I would owe Kevin was not done, right? And a judge refused to do it, okay? So anyway, I talk about that. And so the case was remanded over the Trailside Log Cabin's debts. All other decisions had been made final, as the Supreme Court stated in their opinion. Well, he didn't enter judgment before it went to the Supreme Court and after it came back, you know? So, and I'm telling the court this, and I said, no formal judgments have ever been entered against me to date under Civil Rule 58 and 54B from the 2017 equalization payment as intended before it went to the Supreme Court, and years later. This has been an issue going over 8 years. Leave me alone! But they can't. They can't do it because they got to be right, right? So June 18th, it's like living in a narcissistic family. You will be our retarded spaz child. You will. I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care. I'm not going to acknowledge that because the other pretty boys got to look good. And you're a girl. You're going to sacrifice for the family. You're going to be our target. You're going to be a scapegoat. And I'm going to make my boys look good. My pretty boys. Mama's little babies. Mama's little breastfed babies. Yeah. I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I got handed formula, but thank God, because there was probably a lot of narcissists, or not a lot of barbiturates in that breast milk. So that's all I have to say. So anyway, and I submitted that to court. Did I love her? Yeah, I loved her. You know, but yeah, there were issues, big time issues. You try to lock your highly intelligent child up, you know, and try to make her a retarded, you know, child, you know, make her cognitive delayed, abuse her, leave money on the table and walk out the door when she's 4 years old. Yeah, there's going to be resentment, especially when she's got her breast in my brother's faces, you know, forever. taking care of her little boys, you know? And so I was the sacrifice. I was the child sacrifice. So anyway. And she had some spooky ass gifts, you know, and those are definitely reflected within me, you know, so. So then, yeah, I have no idea. They stole my trust fund and they're already paying themselves from it and doing all kinds of crusty ass crap. You know, until, you know, I see this document. I have you on my calendar for a trust payment of $500 due on the 15th of the month. I don't know it exists, right? So they're all having a good time. I have no idea. They're still in my entire state. My identification, they've already transported my identification to California. The last thing they got to do is get rid of me. That's the last thing they got to do, right? And I'm going to get guided to every friggin' thing they do. Now they start billing the trust fund. So you got to imagine Amanda Lancaster and Samantha Fleming started off at this firm, but now they're going to bill it. They'll never record this lien here that you see in the divorce case. They won't do it. They got to get rid of me first. Then they can lien the hell out of it and steal money from my trust fund from it, right? So this notice pursuant to AS 34.35430 that the law office of Blake, Fulton, Quackenbush has an attorney lien for compensation amount of $42,886.29. Upon the papers of Kevin Alfonsi, upon money in possession of counsel belonging to Kevin Alfonsi, upon money in possession of Kim Elgie, and upon a judgment in the above captioned case. I get this and I freak out. I'm like, they're billing me for my husband's attorney fees, my ex-husband's attorney fees. No, this lien says you're still married with a trust fund. Yeah, and they're billing it. So that's what happens, right? Yeah. But they won't record this one in the divorce case. They can't. They can't do it. Because, you know, they're not going to do that. And it would go back to the finding of fact to conclusion of law, right? Yeah, because they don't want anything to have been happened. That finding of fact conclusion of law was Amanda Lancaster's and Judge Cagle's cutoff point for Judge Heath. That was it, right? So anyway, and that they do one for each case, guardianship case. So they even go in and put a lien against me, who is guardian. Kevin and his attorney take me back to court for guardianship of my son. And then they're going to bill me for Kevin fighting me in court, right? And they send me both these liens. This is word for word, the same one. This is notice pursuant to AS 34.35.30 that the law office of Blake, Fulton, Quackenbush has an attorney lien for compensation amount of $42,086.29 upon the papers of Kevin Alfonsi, upon money in the possession of counsel belonging to Kevin Alfonsi, upon money in the possession of Kim Elgie, and upon a judgment in the above captioned case. So I get both these liens at the same time, and I'm like, what the hell? They're billing me for Kevin fighting me in court in our son's guardianship case when I'm guardian and he took me to court for guardian. Well, I have no idea. They're setting up an estate robbery. After my ass disappears from the house, they're going to have a lot of trust fund fun. So they regenerated a lien word for word to go after me, right? And they'll never put Kevin's correct address down here, they'll just put down the trust's address for Kevin in the certificate of distribution, right? Kevin doesn't have his own address. He's living at the trust. Yeah, that's where he's living. So anyway, now my attorney, oh, this is it. Now my mom leads me to the court docket. My deceased mother leads me to the court docket to see last July, she does this in October 28th, to see this written on the court docket. And I'm not knowing what she's talking about, you know, plus she's dead and they communicate to a point, right? And she just kept saying, you haven't worked. This is not a wage garnishment disbursement. You haven't worked, Kim. Where's the money coming from? You made a payment to Kevin for $119. Where's it coming from? You know, and I'm getting really mad because she just keeps coming through and she won't leave me alone. And she keeps saying, where's this money coming from? She's a bookkeeper. Where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? And then God says, go up the docket one line at a time and start reading everything. I don't care dates. I want you to go up the docket one line at a time and start reading. And so I do. And then I come to trust writ of garnishment, the same amount of money as this wage garnishment disbursement. And then I read trust writ of garnishment. Okay, trust writ of garnishment. And my mom like goes, trust writ of garnishment. And then finally I figure, I'm like, oh my God, they stolen a trust fund. And she's like, yes. Okay, so then I get led to those liens. And then I get led to my case. She says, go to your court case where your attorney sues you. The trustee is suing his client for legal fees in the divorce case, when the attorney holding the trust simply would have said to his client, hey, Kim, you know, you owe me for representing you in that divorce case. So how about we bill the trust fund for those legal expenses, like Quackenbush did, right, in the liens. This is what your attorney that's working for you would do, right? That's what he would do. I'm going to put it, if you don't pay me, Kim, those legal fees from the trust that I have as your trustee, I'm going to bill you for those and put a lien against the trust, you know, a lien against the papers, you know, and I don't know Ken's my, and this proves it, right? Because he's not saying, you know, we're going to talk about it. You have a trust fund. I am the trustee of it. You know, he's not saying that at all. And this case proves it. So he takes me to court and he sues me for his legal fees, right? And then when the case gets closed, he starts doing trust writs of execution and trust writs of garnishment. But I don't know. The case is closed and then he starts doing it. So I would never find these. I wouldn't find them unless the dead comes back and leads me to the docket. And then I'm going to find them. Because they're not happy with anybody. They're lethal. They're at the point of lethal. Yeah. They're at the point of lethal. So anyway, that's what happens. I get taken back to the docket to see that. And, you know, they give you chance after chance after chance after chance. And then they don't. You know, then it's done. It's kind of like, you know, we kind of did everything that we could do. And they're not believing it. So this is how that was a copy. So this is how it looks on the court docket in that court case, right? And he's my trustee and I don't know it. And he's dragging me to court for legal fees where, yeah, he'd normally just say, hey, Kim, I'm your trustee. But he can't do it because he's keeping that a secret from me. Okay, so then that happens. Is that it? Yeah, that's it, apparently. So, and it all goes back to my mom's obituary, where they have me, you know, they're using a non-legal name for me, right? It goes back to there. And then Kevin has gone back to court because I go and I motion to court and I say, hey, he isn't using his legal name. And I go to court and I say that. I mean, he's flying. that proves it right there. He's flying in the name he hid all the way through court, right? So, yeah. But you can just imagine, how come Civil Rule Pro 10 was violated? Why did the court let Kevin violate Civil Rule Pro 10? Plaintiff must file suit in his full legal name as he knows it. Why'd they do it? Because everybody's in on it. And everybody gets part of this stolen trust fund that I have, right? And then me and my son, we're just worthless, right? In their world, we have no value. You know, our human life doesn't have any value to them because there's a huge ass trust fund. We're not worthy of any money or resources or anything because we're just pieces of crap, me and my kid, right? So that was a certified record that I just showed you, a certified record of not found, divorce record not found. And so even in, he's working for Prue's Construction Company, and this was a 2015 W-2. So he's saying, nope, my name's not Kevin Alfonsi. So what is it on this Prue's Construction invoice right here? Oh, he's got his name. But you got a cartel, a huge cartel that's helping him hide everything to eliminate a woman and her special needs son. Because our value of, we have no value for these men, you know, that we have no value. I have a stolen trust fund, so I need to be eliminated because of it. Like I said, we would have been fine. Me and my son would have been fine without this trust fund. And I was fine. I was like, yeah, I don't want anything. And they're like, too bad you have it. And so now people are going to kidnap you and kill you because of it. So anyway, Kevin goes and I file for a divorce decree to be issued in his legal name. And he refuses, you know, the court refuses to give it to me. Now, this is the second page. And this, Kevin says, this is just important. The plaintiff has not ever filed with Biostatistic to legally change his name. Therefore, there would be no record found with me using that name. The defendant should know this, as it was a huge contention of her that she not use my name, although she later did. So he's saying I used the name Kim Alfonsi, and I never have. But it goes well with my mother's obituary. Anyway, that's it for today. And that was done on July 15th, 2019, and submitted to court. He lied and said his legal name was not his legal name. And the court let him get away with it, right? And that's why I could never get a legal divorce decree, which I can't get a certificate of divorce still to this day, you know. And yeah, because they're making me remain married to him until they can take my life, you know, and everything that I have in my estate, including my home, my cars, my cabin rentals, and my trust fund. Bye.